Oil, a commodity which has generated massive amounts of wealth. Oil has made countless Americans millionaires. There has been presidents built on the backs of oil money. He's got that oil money! It has been a staple of building wealth for generations. Dubai, one of the richest countries in the world, where you can see exotic cars driving down the street and filthy rich people walking along the sidewalk. Those people's bank accounts are full of oil money. But the liquid black gold that squirts out of the ground is going to slowly but consistently start losing its value. These oil-rich countries that have oil reserves under the ground are going to have excess amounts of the commodity. They're going to start dumping this oil. They're going to start trying to sell their product for extremely low prices, and it's slowly going to become so invaluable that it's not even worth taking it out of the ground. It isn't sustainable, and this country and the world as a whole are going to slowly shift away from oil and move towards a more clean and a more sustainable form of energy. This is going to open the door for a new breed of wealth. A new generation of energy-built wealth is about to get built. Gas stations will begin to shutter and close down as EV charging will take over what oil has given us for generations and decades. EV charging, the new oil. He's EV charging rich, baby. EV charging is gonna be the new oil, and it's gonna make a lot of new millionaires. And I plan to be on the EV charging train. In today's video, we're gonna be breaking down the biggest US-based EV charging company that's about to go public, ChargePoint. ChargePoint recently announced that they will be going public via a reverse merger with the SPAC SBE Switchback acquisition. In today's video, we're going to be breaking down ChargePoint stock. We'll be talking about the business model, the fundamentals of the company, some price targets, as well as the merger, and why this company has literally unlimited potential. As always, let's secure the bag by making smart investments and sound trades. Let's get it. The world's largest EV charging company is about to be publicly traded. They're going public, doing a reverse merger with this SPAC SBE, Switchback Energy. And in today's video, we're going to be doing a full depth analysis of ChargePoint, the company's business model, why I think EV charging is about to take over. I'll be putting a price target pre and post merger on this ChargePoint stock. So stay tuned and let's get it. But before we get started, do me a favor, go ahead and get the like button for me. Go ahead and destroy that like button. All right, let's jump right into this. First and foremost, we need to understand ChargePoint's business model. We need to understand who they're marketing to. Are they marketing to businesses or residential customers? Let's break it down. Let's go to their products, and we can see that they have different models of their charging stations. They have commercial charging stations that you would see in front of a grocery store, a shopping mall, something of that nature. We have the fleet charging stations where the real money is going to be. Targeting fleets, you're not just selling a few charging stations. You could be selling 20, 30, 40 charging stations with one order. You guys know I'm big into targeting fleets with both the EV vehicles and charging stations because just the amount of volume that they purchased. And it's cyclical, right? They're just not going to purchase your product one time. If they're satisfied with your product, 3 or 4 years down the road, they're going to need to re-up with more charging stations. This is also where the real money is going to be at. In the future, providing a membership account for your customers, for the EV car owners, is going to be where the money's at. For example, let's say you have an EV vehicle that you need to get charged when you're traveling or driving around doing your everyday driving. You can pay ChargePoint a monthly subscription fee. Let's call it $50 a month. You get a card that you swipe at ChargePoint's charging stations, and then you can charge your car just based on that monthly subscription. So if millions of Americans and tons of people around the world are driving EV cars, as they become more and more popular, this subscription format is where massive amounts of potential revenue are going to be coming from. Imagine if 90% of Americans are driving around in EV cars. There is going to be a need for a ton of EV charging stations, and there's going to be people wanting to get memberships to these charging stations instead of having to pay $5-10 every time they want to charge their vehicle. So I think the membership format, the charging as a service, is where the future massive revenue is going to come from. That's where the money is going to be at. Targeting fleets, number one, and number two, the subscription basis is the future for these charging companies. You can download their ChargePoint app and see on a map where all of their charging locations are located. So if you're a member of their monthly subscription service, you can pull up the map, find a place to charge your car using your monthly subscription account. It's that simple, and I think that's the future for this ChargePoint charging company and all EV charging companies as we proceed. Just think about software as a service. Your Adobes. Think about Netflix, their subscription model. Subscription models are where it's at. It's reoccurring revenue and can really lay a foundation to grow off of, because every month you have that fallback of that reoccurring revenue coming in. And then you can target the fleets to sell your charging stations to and work on how to grow your revenue. They do also offer residential charging stations. So if you own an EV car, you want a charging station for your house, they offer that. You also get a tax credit. I believe it's up to $1,000 if you put one of these charging stations in your home. Let's talk about the merger real quick. I haven't found a date for when the merger is actually going to go through. So if you have a defined date, leave that down in the description down below in the comment section. I would love to have a defined date, a set date for when this merger is actually going to take place. But they're going to be doing it with Switchback Energy acquisition is the SPAC. So the company ChargePoint, once it's public, it will be valued at a valuation of $2 billion, which I think is extremely low for the growth potential and already the infrastructure that this company already has laid out there in their charging stations today. Taking a look at their investor presentation, and this is exactly why I think EV charging is going to be the new oil money, the market. The market is literally endless. They say their market is, our addressable market is massive. Every place vehicles park in North America and Europe. Literally, that is true. You can literally put an EV charging station anywhere, put a credit card reader on it, and it's liable to get used once most Americans are driving around in EV cars. In front of gas stations, in front of malls, at parks, at shopping centers, at people's homes, literally everywhere. Their market is everywhere. EV vehicles are expected to be only 10% of vehicles sold in 2025, and significant growth is expected to happen, and by 2030, 30% of the vehicles sold in the US will be EV. I think that percentage could be even low. I think it could be higher than that, which is drastically improving this company's market share. They're going to be able to target more and more customers each year as more people are driving around EV. That gives ChargePoint more customers by default. As EV penetration grows, this company grows. So they're going to grow by just EV growing, right? They don't really have to do anything. Just keep targeting shopping centers, keep targeting EV drivers with their charging as a service, as a monthly subscription. And as more and more people buy EV cars, this ChargePoint is by default going to grow too. So they really don't have to do anything to grow. ChargePoint's revenue grew 60% year over year in 2019 and expected to be 60% from 2021 to 2026. So we're seeing massive growth in this company already. And less than 10% of cars sold in the United States today are EV. So imagine as years and years go by, more and more people are buying EV cars. This company's growth potential is endless. Here we got a graph of ChargePoint's expected growth model, and it says ChargePoint growth directly proportional to EV penetration. So as EV grows, obviously ChargePoint's going to grow. And here we have passenger EV sales on the left-hand column. And by 2026, we have 1.4 million EV cars sold in the United States alone, only accounting for 10% of all EV cars sold in the US. So think by 2030, 2040, when 20% of the cars sold in the US are EV. That gives this company a huge target customer base. By 2050, say 60 or 70% of the US car sales are EV, then this company is cooking with gas, no pun intended. And this company is not only in the United States, they are targeting other countries for growth as well. We love to be involved with companies that aren't based in only one country, but here we have ChargePoint already expanding out of the United States. We can see the long list of countries that they're in. I love to see that they understand that recurring software as service fees are the future of this business. We can see they have it laid out here: charging stations, software as a service, annual subscriptions, and the growth potential based on that software as a service is massive. You sell somebody something one time, you only get the revenue from that sale once. You sell somebody software as a service, or in this case, charging as a service, you get a reoccurring revenue that's coming into your business every single month, which lays that foundation that we talk about that can be used for growth. Here we got a list of their current customers. Their customer base is already extensive. We have 3M, AAA, Facebook, Netflix, MasterCard, NASA, Pixar, Microsoft, GM. We got a bunch of colleges: Stanford, I believe that's Harvard, Rutgers, Columbia. We got gas stations: 7-Eleven, Chevron. We got a bunch of fleets already on deck. We need to get more fleets as we progress. A bunch of, and here they go into depth talking about how as they progress, their revenue is going to be more and more coming from their reoccurring revenue, so the charging as a service instead of upfront. So right now they're getting most of their sales from selling the actual charging stations. And I want to reiterate how important it is that the money does not come from just selling the charging stations, because you're just getting that one sale. With gas, with oil as it is now, we just don't go fill up our gas tank one time, pay for it one time, and that's it. We have to pay for that gas every time we want to refill, and that's how these charging companies should be looking at this. They should be wanting to get reoccurring revenue, not just selling the charging stations and hitting that nut one time. They should be looking for 5, 6, 7, 8 payments a month from their customers. Every time a customer wants to charge, they should have to pay or be involved with a monthly membership where they pay that monthly subscription and then they're good to go for the month. They are already the #1 charging company in the United States. They're targeting Europe, trying to become the #1 charging company in Europe. So this company has their eyes on growth. Let's talk about my plan on investing in this company and where I think the price target will be short term and long term. Okay, so I'm currently long at the $11.50 area. I initially missed my buy when they came out with the merger news and it rocketed it up. And according to my rules, I don't chase, so I waited for a pullback and I put an order out, just a wish order that I put out, good to cancel, extended hours at 11.50. And that day that the market was crazy, we had a huge sell-off pre-market and I got filled at 11.50 and it immediately rocketed back up. So I'm very happy with my average cost on this ChargePoint stock, and I'll be looking to add more on any dips. Long term, I see this as a $30 billion company. It's supposedly supposed to go public at $2 billion. So we're talking about 15x the current price. So I see this charging at over 100. I see this ChargePoint trading at over $100 a share within the next 5-10 years. But that's a long-term growth outlook. As EV starts to become more popular, as EV progresses and the penetration increases, this ChargePoint is going to grow rapidly. And when I mean rapidly, it's going to be like that. One day you look around and you're just going to see gas stations shutting down and you're going to see ChargePoint charge stations popping up. I think it's going to be very quick, and we're talking about years away, but as long-term investors, if you can get a 15x your money in 5 years, that's a great investment. That's just an obvious investment. Short term, I think it's still undervalued. I think right now this should be a $5 or $10 billion company. So I'm going to be investing on any pullbacks. I think this could be trading over $30 a share in the next year. I honestly believe that. I'm also a big believer in Blink Energy, ticker symbol BLNK. If you want to see my full detailed video on that, it'll be linked right up there in that info card. So click that if you want to watch that. But yeah, back to ChargePoint. I think this is a $30 stock currently trading at $15 a share. The downside risk is that the merger doesn't go through, and if that happens, it goes back to where it came from at $10.50. But I think the risk of that happening is very, very low. So yes, I'm very high on EV charging as a whole, and I'm very high on this ChargePoint stock, and I will be investing in it on any pullbacks. I already have a little small position, and I'll be investing more on any pullbacks. I love all of you guys. I hope you got something from the video. If you did, go ahead and hit the like button for me. If you're not yet a subscriber, consider subscribing down below. Hit that notification bell so you can be alerted anytime I post on YouTube. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Until next time, peace.
Drop.